All right, my name is Francesca Kubaki, and I'm here with.
Alec Boss.
And today we are going to talk about the effects of the option that Instagram offered a couple months ago to remove the amount of likes on your post.
So, this whole thing is making me really reminiscent of what YouTube did about 6 months back, where they actually removed the dislike counter on videos. And I mean, they didn't remove it entirely, they just made it so that it was private, so only the author of the video themselves could see it. But I feel like a lot of the conversations that happened when that feature was removed, or I guess you could say added, are kind of happening with this. And I just think that it's very interesting because I feel like it has the ability to potentially make social media more social and less monetary focused. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like we have to think about the reasons why they would have to come up with something like that. And off the bat, the first thing that comes to my head is pressure. Especially for teenagers. If they are friends with someone that is on their way to being a teenage influencer or anything like that, and they're like, oh my God, why did Sarah get 250 likes and mine only has 75? And I like that it's an option, because they could have just taken it away completely, but they know that in one way or another that would harm some influencers or some companies that use their likes, because I feel like likes also determine what's trending as well. So I like the fact that it's an option. I think it can help a lot of people. I've had friends in the past that when Instagram first came out, that if they would post something and it didn't get to like 100 likes, they would delete the post.
Yeah.
So I think that this can help a lot with like self-esteem, and all of that pressure. I think at the end of the day, you're still going to end up comparing yourself to someone because you're just scrolling and you're seeing different types of people. Someone who can be in their chapter 8 and you're just in your chapter 1, I think it's inevitable for you to compare yourself to someone, but I think that can help like a lot of teenagers and people that are doubting themselves in the social media world.
Yeah, and to that point, you mentioned that you had friends that you knew that would delete posts if they didn't hit a certain benchmark. I had actually done some research and read a couple articles for a class a couple semesters ago talking about the effects of social media, specifically Instagram and the use of fake Instagram accounts like Finstas. And you saw a lot of this impression management going on where these people had two accounts. So they had one where it was just unbiased, them raw, unfiltered, them sharing and doing whatever they felt that they wanted to share and do. It was just them. And then they had another account that was very carefully and meticulously planned. If posts didn't reach a certain benchmark, they were removed. Everything was kind of cultivated to make this just picturesque personality, right, online. And I think the real sad, ironic part to this is that the ones that were raw and unfiltered and just the person being them, that was the fake account. That was the one that had the alias. That was the one that was hidden because they didn't want other people seeing that, because it's almost kind of like you're striking a nerve, like this is who I am,
Right.
you're unprotected. And it was the one that was super carefully cultivated and everything that was their actual, profile. So, you always have to kind of ask yourself how inherently good something is if you have to have all of these workarounds. I think this is kind of an elegant solution because it's not as extreme as having to create a separate account. You have this feature that if you wanted to just make it purely about sharing content and you don't want to see what other people have to say, you just want to do you can. So I think that it is in that way kind of a step in the right direction. I like what you had said too, where it allows people to kind of figure out what they want to do, and it doesn't hurt content creators, and it because they still have that opportunity to have those likes. The one thing that I do worry about, and I feel like you always kind of have to like look to the future to see how these things could be taken, but the potential adverse reaction to people that don't have that feature enabled. I had seen some people talking about, like, most recently the mask mandate, right? And how for people in public school, like, parents had the option to send their kids with a mask to school or not. That seems kind of benign, but those people that went to school with the mask, even though the mask mandate was lifted, they were almost kind of ostracized. So I feel like you could see the same thing happening, like, oh, that person doesn't have their likes on.
Yes.
Why is that?
And you're right. I feel like in a way it can even cause more attention.
Yep.
And be like, oh, like she doesn't want us to see her like 52 likes, you know, because we know teenage years can be rough on people, and but I don't know. I feel like social media, if you learn how to utilize it, I feel like it can also be really beneficial for you. Yes, there's bullying and there's all of that, but at the same time, there's so many resources available, and I don't know if people max those out. You know, if I, for example, like if I'm having like a bad day, I know that I can go to that search bar and search for hashtag self-love or self-worth or you are enough. And I will promise you within 5 minutes, I'll feel better because I'll see either a reel or just a story that someone used that hashtag on that will make me feel better.
I think it is in that regard one of the coolest aspects of social media in general, that like you can kind of cultivate whatever content that you feel like you need or want to see. It's right at your fingertips, and I think that is such an overlooked thing. You know, a lot of people, myself included, sometimes talk about much of the negative things that social media has about it, but it's a tool like any other, and there are positives to it and there are negatives to it, and it depends on how you use that tool. I think where it becomes complicated is those algorithms, right? You know, because if you are constantly in this echo chamber, right, where you're just seeing the same content just back at you, you don't know that maybe that self-love content is out there. You don't know if that's there because that's not what you're seeing, because the algorithm knows that this is what, you know, if you're in your feelings, right, and this is what you're looking at, that's what you're going to see.
Yes.
So I think the next, you know, debate comes, well, how do we get people to know that these other features are out there? And I think that Instagram doing this with the likes, I think that that's kind of a good starting point for that. You know, I think it opens up the dialogue to say like, hey, this is a feature that we have. These are the other features that we have too that can kind of help take away these negative aspects and kind of mitigate that cyberbullying almost.
Right.
So.
And I think the fact that it's an option, you know, once again, like it's, you know, if you're an influencer and you think it's going to harm you, then fine. You can display all your likes and all your comments and all of that. But I think it's a really good tool because you don't have to compare yourself to anyone. And at the same time, it's like, don't take anything too personal.
Yeah.
It's like a golden rule, you know? You like someone, I might have seen your post. I might have liked it in my head. Like I might have been like 5 seconds from falling asleep. And then I was just too lazy to actually double tap it. But like doesn't really mean that much to me, you know? And I feel like with the Finsta accounts, people used to buy likes. I don't know if they still do that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So I feel like this is like a win-win for those people because you don't have to spend their money on likes, and they can hide their likes altogether, so people don't have to wonder how many likes their pictures got. But with influencers and like celebrities alike and all of that, I feel like, and I don't do it as like a petty, because I know it sounds petty when I say it. Like if you have a post and you have thousands of likes on it, or even millions, like let's say I follow the Kardashians, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I might like it. I'm like, oh, that's a cute bathing suit. But I'm like, oh, they already have so many likes. Like, I just keep scrolling, you know?
Yeah. It's just another drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But I know that for some people, likes determine what's trending.
Yep.
So, like, we were talking the other day about, like, Amazon. And, like, if we see a product that we want to buy and it has, like, 4.2 stars and, like, 1,000 reviews, we're like, all right, we'll keep that one in a separate tab. And then if we see another one that has like 5 stars but only 28 reviews, and I think we both said, we're like, you know what, I'm gonna trust those 28 people because they gave it 5 stars, and the other ones is like 4.2, and like, you know, so I think that kind of relates to the determining what's trending with the likes kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's just, we live in this crazy world where just little bits of code have such dramatic importance to them, because it you know, it's going to dictate like how much money that you can make from advertising. It's going to determine how you view yourself and how you attribute self-worth to yourself. And I feel like when social media was created, that was never the goal. I think that was just the progression of this new aspect of our lives, and perhaps maybe it was, you know, inevitable to happen with human nature and how we kind of group ourselves into these hierarchies, and we almost, you know, link up and form these little cliques, but I feel like at its core, social media was created to allow us to stay connected with other people, to share our ideas, share our thoughts, and I think having this feature is a step in the right direction to allowing that to happen. It kind of strips back the monetization and like that transactional nature of social media and just allows it to be something a little bit more pure. But, social media's been around roughly 15 years, but that's still not really enough time to kind of see the lasting legacy that it's leaving, and there's still not enough here to accurately predict what's going to happen in the future. So it really is that we're just kind of rolling the dice and learning as we go every day. And, it remains to be seen how this feature is going to be looked at, 3 months in the future to 10 years in the future.
Yeah.
I hope that it is a signaling to something a little bit more pure to what social media was designed for. I mean, we'll see. I try to have that whole cautiously optimistic outlook. But one thing is for sure, companies are trying to reinvent themselves, and they're trying new things. And I think you had said it a couple times, and I'd be remiss to not say it, but it is an option. You're not being pigeonholed into it. YouTube, on the other hand, they did away with it entirely, and there was significantly more backlash to that than this. To me, without us talking about it, it's been kind of relatively under my radar. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means that people are going to be more accepting of it. Maybe that means that it's going to signal a more positive shift, because we need social media. And while I definitely have my issues with it at times, I do think that it has the ability to do a lot of good. But you have to monitor it. It's just like those checks and balances, because if you let it get out of hand, it's going to be very negative. And I think this is a nice tool to let us do that.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool, and I think that as long as you know how to use it and you use it to your advantage and you kind of like keep yourself in check, I would love for it to stay with the main purpose that when it came out, like you said, just for the intent of like sharing content. But I feel like, social media generates so many jobs. There's so many people that make so much money off of social media, and I think that as long as that's a thing, which I think it's a good thing, it's a very creative outlet for someone to go out there. If someone doesn't like a regular 9 to 5, they can just create content for someone, and they may still work a 9 to 5, but they're doing something they like. And I feel like social media has provided a lot of people with opportunities that they can actually do what they want. And I feel like for as long as money is in the mix, there's always going to be some kind of backlash with whatever options they try to come out. They try to come up with this option to help the people that harm themselves, like emotionally and mentally, with like self-esteem and personality and all that stuff. But I feel like as a business owner, you're never going to be able to please everyone. So as long as they keep it an option, you can either hide it or you can portray it, like whatever. We created this option for you because of the comments that we have received from the public. So as long as it's an option, they won't hurt the people that are making income out of them. So I think it's a good thing.
I think so too. And I'd like to just kind of close up with that whole notion that it's a tool like any other, and it's really up to the person as to whether or not that tool is going to be used for good. I mean, going back to that same article that I had read and some of the research that I had done, a lot of it depends on how long you're staying on the platforms, what your own predisposition is, whether that be with your self-esteem or depression. These are all different factors that you have to take into consideration when using this tool. And if you're afflicted by any one of these, then you have to be extra careful with that. And until now, I hadn't really seen a solution that one of these platforms had come up with to kind of help with that. And I do feel like this has the potential to do that. But like any tool, you have to use it responsibly. And I think that if it's used responsibly and if it's monitored, especially for adolescents and teens and stuff like that, especially if they have predispositions to self-esteem issues or depression, I think if it's monitored and you have features like this in place, I think, and I don't want to put my mouth on trouble, but I do think that it has the ability to have more positives than negatives in its previous state.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even with what you said, like managing it and monitoring it, like I love social media. Like I use Instagram a lot, but I know how to control myself. So like if right now I'm taking 6 classes this semester, I currently have a setting on my phone that if I scroll for more than 10 minutes, it'll give me a pop-up. Obviously, I can click it and just go back to it, which I've done several times. But you just control.
Yeah.
You know, I also have another setting that it'll let me know once I've spent 2 hours on Instagram throughout my day. So like in the summer, I'll probably take that off because I'm not taking 6 classes in the summer, but it's just learning how to use it to your advantage. You know, I'm not gonna just completely like erase the app just because I need to focus in school, but it's like time management and like take responsibility for like your own needs with it too.
Absolutely. It's a part of our lives, and the more that we learn how to control it and manage it, then we reduce the risk of it controlling and managing us. Not to sound poetic, but no, but overall I think it's very interesting, and I'm going to be very excited to see how this all pans out in the future. But, yeah.
Me too. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.